What's going on, man? Welcome back to the basement. I'm Ron, and today we're going to talk through my 6 sneaky starts and stats for Week 11 of the fantasy football season. I know a lot of you guys have Jonathan Taylor, Bijan Robinson on bye, and you're struggling. You're looking around. Maybe Deshaun Watson got hurt. This is for the people scratching and clawing for playoff spots, punting positions. We are dumpster diving today. We are going outside of the top 24 in expert consensus rankings at every position, giving you a QB streamer, a tight end streamer, some running back plays, some wide receiver plays. So if you're in a pinch, these are some decent plays you can sort of look to. A lot of them are still hanging around on waivers, and you can put them into your lineup instantly. So with all that being said, if you enjoy, make sure you get down below, subscribe, leave a like. Let's go.
Like this froze, ice cold, ice around my body like I'm frozen. She gon' let me.
Now, how this is going to work is I have a stat for every single player, and I compare where consensus has these players ranked and where I have them ranked. And first up, our first sneaky start of the week is Royce Freeman. Now, you can see on the picture here, he is going up against Seattle. The consensus rankings has him as RB35. He's my RB32, so we're 3 spots higher than consensus. Their team totals, just how many points does Vegas have them scoring? 22.75, 13th in the NFL, as 1-point underdogs at home versus Seattle. Now, the stat is, in the 3 games without Kyren Williams, Royce Freeman has had 1 game with 9 carries and 2 games with 12 carries. He should see about 10 carries versus a Seahawks team allowing the 5th most fantasy points to opposing running backs, along with ranking 31st in rush EPA per play, which we'll show here. This is a screenshot from Sam Hoppin on Twitter. He does a matchups thread every single week. It's amazing. But you can see there, rush EPA per play, like the bottom 3, the last 4 games, they are 31st rush EPA per play. So that is EPA per play is just per play efficiency, on a per play. Are they getting first downs? Are they giving negative plays? Are they advancing the football? Are they scoring points? Just per play efficiency in terms of the run game is 31st, 28th in rush success rate, and 26th in explosive rush rate allowed over their last 4 games. So they're allowing big runs. They're allowing consistent, good runs. They're allowing a lot of EPA per play on runs. They have been awful against the run in their last 4 games as Seattle Seahawks. And with a healthy Matthew Stafford, this offense should move the ball and pound the rock inside the 10-yard line as one of just 5 teams with a 60% or higher rush rate inside of the 10-yard line this year. You can see here, this is from the data points or fantasy points data suite here. You can see the Rams rush the ball 61% of the time inside the 10-yard line. Now, they only have 31 total plays here. You can see the rest of them where like the Ravens have 66 plays, the Saints have 55. First of all, it's sort of because they have only played 9 games, and it's also because they haven't had Matthew Stafford for every single game here. But the offense should be rolling here. You can expect 10-ish carries and potentially a touchdown from Royce Freeman if you're in a pinch. He's available in over 80% of ESPN leagues. So to me, Royce Freeman is a nice guy. Again, he's going to be out there in 80% of leagues. If you are struggling and you're punting RB2, I know a lot of us have hero RB builds and 0 RB builds. Like, if you're running a hero RB and you're without Bijan, you're without a Jonathan Taylor, you might have to, you're probably looking on your bench like Kenneth Gainwell's and Jerick McKinnon's. I would personally prefer Royce Freeman over those kind of like dumpster divey type of running backs. Now, another running back I like, if you're in a pinch, he's probably less likely to be on waivers, but he's somebody that you might have on the bench and you haven't really thought about starting. But Tyjae Spears, I think, is a fine start this week. Consensus has him as RB38. He's my RB34. So we're 4 spots higher than consensus. They're projected to have the 22nd most points in the NFL this week. That's not great for the Titans, but they're 7-point underdogs at home, and that's the big thing here. In 3 games with Will Levis, Tyjae Spears has had 14 targets, which is tied for the 7th most over that span with Rachaad White. We know Rachaad White's a great receiving back, so Tyjae Spears is getting similar volume through the air as a guy like Rachaad White. Now, this game plays into Tyjae Spears' strengths as the Titans are 7-point underdogs on the road versus the Jaguars. The Titans will have to pass the ball in a trailing game script, and checkdown should be plentiful as the Jaguars allow the most targets to the running back position on a per-game basis. You can see here, this is the edge, which is on the 33rd team's website, and the Jaguars allow 9.2 targets per game to the running back position. You can assume a lot of those are not going to go towards Derrick Henry, so we're going to get a nice game script for Tyjae Spears against a defense that allows the running backs to get checkdowns underneath, and Tyjae Spears is coming off of consecutive season highs of 60% plus snap shares. To me, he is a PPR RB3 this week in a game script where, again, They're going to be going up and down with the Jaguars. They're going to have to be playing from behind. They're going to be on the road. Again, the Jaguars funnel targets to the running back position. They're very good on the outside. I want to say Darius Williams and Tyson Campbell have been playing very well, but I'm not a defensive side of the ball guy, so feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like they've been good on the perimeter, and they've kind of been weak over the middle of the field with like running back checkdowns and tight ends, which brings us in the same game to the tight end that I really like this week. This is my tight end streamer of the week. We have Chig Okonkwo. Now, he's going to be in the same game. He is the tight end 17 in expert consensus. He is my tight end 14. Again, he's going to be on the road as a 7-point underdog versus the Jaguars. And in the same game, Chig Okonkwo is teed up versus a Jaguars defense that allows the third most fantasy points to opposing tight ends. Specifically, we can see here with the edge, they allow the third most fantasy points of tight ends out of the slot, which is perfect for a tight end in Okonkwo, who lines up in the slot 52.8% of the time, which is 9th in the NFL. I don't know why I didn't say 9th in the NFL there, but I remember off the top of my head, it was 9th on PFF among qualified tight ends. So that's actually a high rate. He's also much better versus zone, which is 5 targets versus man and 28 targets versus zone. Perfect for a matchup versus a Jaguars defense that runs the 5th most zone coverage in the NFL. So this defense just plays to his strength. They're weak versus the slot tight end. They're weak versus tight ends in general, and they play a lot of zone. Chig Okonkwo thrives and is in his element against zone over the middle. So to me, I love Chig Okonkwo. Look, this isn't a betting show. This isn't gambling advice, but I sprinkled a little bit on Chig Okonkwo, 50-plus receiving yards. Chig Okonkwo, anytime touchdown was like plus 500. Absolutely love those for Chig Okonkwo. This is a great matchup versus the Jaguars for him. Again, if you're in one of these pickles where, I'm trying to think, I mean, if you lost Andrews, that was on Thursday night, but are any of the good tight ends on bye here? I guess if you have Kyle Pitts, something like that. I don't know. If your tight end's on bye or he got hurt, feel free to pivot to Chig Okonkwo. I have him as my tight end 14 this week. He is a startable tight end here. Now, getting even deeper, we have Michael Wilson, rookie out of Arizona. He is the consensus wide receiver 46 this week. I have him as my wide receiver 42, and we are 4 spots higher than consensus, and he is going to be at Houston on the road, 6-point underdog. They're going to have to pass the ball. And speaking of players who thrive versus zone, Michael Wilson surprisingly checks this box, and he checks this box to the nth degree, fellas. I didn't know that this was happening, but you can see Michael Wilson is 2.0, let me restart there. His 2.02 yards per out run versus zone is second best on the Cardinals behind just Trey McBride. And you can see here, he has a 0.07 yards per out run versus man coverage, 2.02 versus zone. That is one of the most drastic man versus zone splits I've ever seen in my life. Now, the Texans run the 7th most zone coverage at an 80.7% rate, which should give a lot of opportunities for Michael Wilson to be efficient in a trailing game script. He's run 85% or more of the routes in each of his last 4 weeks, so if he can hit a 2+ yards per out run in this spot, he likely pays off in fantasy. Remember, if he's getting 2+ yards per out run on 85% of the routes against a team that runs zone 80% of the time, you're going to get Nico Collins in a nice little spot here. I also like Michael Wilson to maybe floor with 50-plus receiving yards, maybe scored a touchdown. He had a touchdown called back last week. Maybe Kyler Murray kind of gives him a makeup touchdown in this one. Michael Wilson, really fun play. Again, that split is absolutely insane, man versus coverage, but it does make sense where he's not going to sort of beat you one-on-one, but he is going to get downfield, find the pocket in the zone, and create big plays. So Michael Wilson is a fun, desperation flex. After that, we have Curtis Samuel here, who is in a great spot. He is going to be at home versus the Giants. They're projected for the 10th most points in the NFL. They're 9.5-point favorites at home. Samuel's the consensus wide receiver 48. He's my wide receiver 43. I'm 5 spots higher than consensus. And the stat is Curtis Samuel hasn't had a 60% or better snap share since week 6 due to injury. From weeks 1 through 6, when he was at, full time in terms of his playing time, he was the wide receiver 24 with 12.6 points per game. He found himself off the injury report and good to go for the first time since then this week. To me, he's an under-the-radar flex play versus a Giants defense, allowing the 3rd most fantasy points to wide receivers. He's available in about 65% of ESPN leagues. You can see this report here. Samuel's limited on Wednesday and Thursday, but upgraded to full on Friday. The veteran receiver will be ready to go despite a nagging toe issue and is coming off a Week 10 performance, which he saw 6 targets against the Seahawks. Samuel managed only 2 catches on the day, but he's been seen 5 or more targets in 5 of 9 games this season. Is on the PPR radar as a low-end wide receiver 3. But yeah, he's been removed from the Commanders' Week 11 injury report and will play versus the Giants. It seems like he's good to go, and he should be much more involved than he has been the previous 3 or so weeks. Now, our last player here we're going to talk about is our QB streamer of the week, Jordan Love. Now, Jordan Love is going to be at home versus the Chargers. He's the consensus QB 18. He's my QB 18 as well. I can't put him over guys like, Geno Smith and Jared Goff and stuff, but he's very much a fine play. Again, if you're in a pickle at QB, maybe you had Deshaun Watson get hurt, or you have a Minshew on bye, anything like that. Jordan Love, to me, I think you could do a lot worse than Jordan Love. Again, he's going to be at home versus the Chargers. He's projected for the 18th most points in the NFL. They're going to be 3-point underdogs there, and he is my streamer of the week. He's available in 56% of the leagues, or 56% of ESPN leagues, and the stat here is he is the QB 10 in expected points per game. He finds himself at home versus a Chargers team that is allowing the second most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. The Chargers defense is bad as a whole, ranking 27th in EPA per play, 26th in success rate allowed. You can see, again, this is all from Sam Hoppin over on his matchups report. All of that purple means that they have been awful. Now, over the last 4 weeks, they've been a little bit better. But you have to remember, they played the Jets one of those games, which is definitely going to inflate those a little bit, where their defense actually looked good versus Zach Wilson. Regardless, though, they are, again, 27th in EPA per play, 26th in success rate allowed, and 31st in explosive pass rate allowed. They also invite shootouts as their opponents average 68.2 plays per game, 4th highest in the league. You can see that's across the bottom plays per game. Their opponents are running 68.2 plays per game, meaning that they almost invite you to keep up with their offense. So in a trailing game script, Love should have to pass the ball through a Swiss cheese pass defense and could get forced into an up-tempo track meet. Jordan Love, to me, is a good start, a solid start, probably someone that's going to get 15-plus fantasy points for you. Again, if you're down bad, I think you could do much, much worse than Jordan Love. Now, that's going to do it for us today. Now, if you haven't already, make sure you check out Underdog Fantasy. You can take all of these and string them together in their pick'em lobby, where you can go higher or lower on their projections. These are some that stood out based on what we just did here, where I loved Royce Freeman. Again, he hasn't been under 9 rush attempts since the Kyren Williams injury. Okonkwo, Michael Wilson, Curtis Samuel, Jordan Love. I like these lines as well. You can go higher or lower on. I don't know. If you disagree, you could go lower on them as well. But just something fun to sort of do over the weekend while these games are going on. If you think you can beat the projections, they have them out for NBA, college. They have passing, rushing, anything you could possibly think of. It's in the pick'em lobby. Make sure you check it out. And if you're new to Underdog Fantasy, use promo code RON, and they'll match your first deposit up to $100. I'll have a link in the description in the comment section down below. Click the link. It'll take you to Underdog Fantasy. It'll use promo code RON. It'll match your first deposit up to $100, and you will have this Russell Wilson new customer special waiting for you in the pick'em lobby. All you have to do, again, is if you're a new customer and you sign up, they will give you a 0.5 total yards higher lower pick'em line, which means you pretty much get a freebie. So instead of having to do, you can see here, 5 correct gets up to 20x. You can essentially get 5 correct up to 20x, but one of them is a freebie in the Russell Wilson special. So you can pretty much do 4 correct to get 20x because Russell Wilson's already going to be a given there. So it's a nice little deal there. Sweeten some things up for your first pick'em lobby. On top of that, you have, or not pick'em lobby, but your first pick'em slip. And then on top of that, you have fantasy drafts, you have NBA drafts, you have daily NFL drafts, all of that good stuff on Underdog. Again, if you're new, promo code RON will get you a deposit match up to $100. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed. I do like doing these videos. We actually hit a crazy parlay where I sort of strung together the last ones. I did anytime touchdown scores, and I think it was Kareem Hunt, Jerick McKinnon, and Jahan Dotson in the under on the Colts game. We turned $30 into $1,000. So yeah, feel free to take any of these players. I think that across the board, Underdog, anything, they're all sort of getting slept on this week. You can play them in your lineups, but please don't. I get questions all the time like, I got Mike Evans. Should I start Mike Evans or Michael Wilson? Dude, start Mike Evans. All right. If you start your studs. But again, if you're like, God damn, I am punting this position right now, these are the players for you. Okay. Don't feel obligated to force these players into your lineup. Only play them if you're down bad. So with that being said, I hope that you guys all win your games this week. I hope that if you're in a pickle, this helps you sort of get out scot-free while players are on bye or players are hurt. So with all that being said, if you enjoyed, make sure you get down below, leave a like, subscribe, and I will see y'all in the next one.
Don't like this froze. Wait, ice cold. Wait, oh, oh. Wait, ice around my body like I'm